Tree Country 1330 WTRE. Good Thursday morning. The sun is coming up. The days are getting longer.
We've made it, and you had 3 sunshine songs in a row. Say that fast.
Right?
Times. Wow.
I did. Do you feel warmer already?
I think so.
I know, right?
And the sun's coming up. There's some pinks and oranges out there across
You can will it to happen, and that's what we just started the day that way.
We believe you. Do you think we could maybe do this whole 28-minute show today and not talk about the weather? You think we could pull that off?
We could try.
Okay.
We could try really hard.
So
it's been a quiet week.
Yeah. Your first question is, what have you been up to this week? Snow. Okay. Well, I guess we'll talk about that.
Nothing at all.
Right.
Yeah, we could have tried to get past the snow, but I don't think there's any getting past it. Now you can get it through the streets.
Yeah, it's been a week, but I want to. There's a ton of thank yous to go around, right? And we definitely can't cover everyone, but I mean, if you think about all of the folks that have been involved with this, Department of Health has done a wonderful job having the warming shelter. You know, county highways, city streets have been very busy with snow removal and plowing. Our administrative teams have stepped up to help answer phones and, get administrative work done over the last couple days. Wastewater and water teams have kept the utilities running and even came in on Sunday and pulled 12-hour shifts in snowplows so that our street team could go take a nap and get ready for another 12-hour overnight shift Sunday night. And, the teams that have been working in the private sector, our law enforcement, our fire. Of course, there's been a lot of news this week about the car that drove into the retention pond and the rescue. I'm sure we'll spend a little bit of time talking about that later. Just about everybody has been all hands on deck to make this week happen. And then, as we shift into, kind of recovery mode, if you will, there's some discussion about a national declaration, emergency declaration. The governor's declared that as well. So hopefully that will help us with some reimbursement funding. I mean, as you might imagine, it's been a very expensive week to operate, but that's the job, and our teams across the board from 911 communications and dispatch through our partners in the media and partners in wreckers and towing companies that have worked a lot of hours this week. And we're really grateful for all of the support that every member of our team has provided and stepped up and helped with.
I always find it intriguing, and I mean, we've all lived through several snowstorms, but to watch the community come together when the snow hits. And so whether it's everybody with the city or the county, or it's the private people that are going around moving snow, I just find it intriguing. They all come together. It becomes just very synchronized, and we all make it through and make it to the other side.
And it is one of those things where when there's a collective, it affects, this affected everyone, anyone and everyone inside the WTRE listing area, unless, of course, you're watching on YouTube from a city somewhere far away.
It's a lot warmer.
It's a lot warmer. This is probably just as impactful to everyone. So there's sort of this new baseline, right? It's not like, well, that area flooded and this one didn't, or I wasn't here when it rained an inch and a half and got stuck in the mud. It literally affects everyone. So at least we all sort of start with that. I understand that as we progress over the next week, some folks are going to become impatient with it because it's not going anywhere. It's going to be very cold for the next week. Snow melt doesn't really work, but we are starting to see some more pavement out there, which is great. Greensburg Community Schools are back in today. I think e-learning is happening in the county schools. So there is some of that returning to normalcy because I understand, schools also provide daycare, childcare for, kids and young adults that parents, may have to be responsible for and are responsible for when schools are canceled, and factories and industry and employment opportunities and doctors' offices all opened back up on, Tuesday or Wednesday. So getting schools back in is a big step in that direction as well. But this is going to be around for a while.
It is. I was talking to Randy Allish yesterday. This is what concerns me because I'm not a fan of the snow. We all know this. But he says that weather is very cyclic and that we've not had snow like this in 10 years. And he thinks that we are moving back into that realm for the next 10 years, that our winters will go back to this.
Well,
I told him he was fired.
He'll be calling in this afternoon or today, I'm sure, right?
Yes.
So, but then also this morning I saw where somebody was talking about it's the worst snowpack in Colorado since 20 1997 or something.
Okay,
So like
so
they're having the worst winter in 20 years. Maybe it's just shifted east.
maybe so. But here we are. We're surviving,
That's right.
thriving. We got this under control.
Yeah, and a thing that is over the next week that may raise some questions is, why aren't we plowing back further? And we're trying to be very respectful of that. As you are well aware, a lot of on-street parking happens across the city. People dig out driveways, and when we come through with a plow, we plow them closed and plow them shut. And with there not being as much room to do that, we have to kind of close in driveways and replow in cars and things like that. So we're being very mindful. The street team's been doing a great job of kind of getting pavement available, visible. And then we may have to, there are piles of snow on corners that probably aren't going anywhere for multiple weeks. It's just going to have to be a little bit more attentive driving. But the reason we're not doing curb to curb, and you've heard me say that in other snowstorms, is we're at a curb to curb type pass, is we don't want to be burying in cars again. We don't want to be plowing in driveways that people have worked so tirelessly to shovel out. And so we're kind of at a standstill with street widening. We're trying to get some maintenance work done. We're trying to get some pavement showing. They have been trucking snow out of downtown and off of street corners to try to get visibility triangles reopened up in the best way possible. We have a gigantic mountain of snow right in front of City Hall in our parking spaces as well, but that's okay. But the problem is it does makes the visibility of 421 a little bit harder. Like, you have to come to the stop sign, you have to actually stop and look both ways, like you should be doing anyway. So we're trying to do some of that work this week, and of course the teams have been very busy, and they've been trucking it out of downtown. On Monday, it was I took some photos, but it just does not do it justice. It just looks like snow. But like when you're standing next to it and it's as tall as I am,
yeah.
It's a lot of snow.
There's a lot of snow. Well, I think that's kind of been the common theme between city and county both. There was so much snow this go round that it could only go so far. Like when they're plowing the streets and the roads, there was nowhere left for it to go. It was just there.
Yeah, and I mean, especially out in the county, the space is available off the side of the road, but it's already 3 or 4, it's 3 feet deep because it's in a ditch that's 1.5 feet deep, and you add 1.5 feet of snow on top of that. And so then you roll 8 to 10 feet of snow over on top of that. You're kind of out of room to push it, right? You can't get off of the side and push it even further. And then with the wind and the drifting, then it closes back in, and now it's a 2.5, 3 foot deep drift because it came off of that pile you pushed over. So it's sometimes a losing battle. We're a little bit fortunate. We only have a few places in the city that drift kind of hard. 421 north out towards Old Michigan, out towards Honda drifts sort of poorly, and then a few neighborhoods on the west side of town drift, but we don't have as much of that problem. But with the giant piles, Broadway was impacted by that a little bit, so they've been working on it.
They're doing a great job, and very thankful to everybody. There's been a lot of hours worked over the last few days. So
there has been, and we've talked about this before as well. We've canceled trash 1 or 2 days in the week.
You've never done this though, have you?
We've not to my knowledge. I don't know about ever, but not since I've been here. We've never done a full week. But when your crews start running at 5 p.m. on Saturday night, and then don't stop till Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, a lot of people don't realize. But our street department, the staff level, the labor force is funded through the trash fund, and so we do trash service as a way to pay for the labor at the street department, and then the operations of that come from a couple different funds. And some of it comes from the general fund. About 10% of our general fund is street department, but that's just the portion of the street department budget. A lot of our labor most of the labor is funded through sanitation fees. So we do trash so that we have the staff to do other street department functions. If we did not do administrative staff, or if we did not administer trash, we would have significantly less staff, including in situations like this. So we have about 12 individuals who serve us in that department, and we do trash year round, and we have them on our team year round. so that we can do other things in the community, so that we can, make our community better. But then also we have ability to drive snowplows and dump trucks in the winter. So this is one of those trade-offs. We're canceling the trash service this week so that our team can focus on snow. We understand that it has an impact to folks. We are going to administer, I don't think we've ever done this either, because we don't do it on kind of one day off things, but the whole week we're going to administer a $4 credit on every residential sanitation customer's bill in February. So that will cover, that in theory covers the week. I know we're still picking up the trash, right? We have to pay to take the trash to landfill. We're still incurring the cost of the weight, but we want to acknowledge that it's it's an issue and it's a service that we didn't deliver this week. But boy, our team has really delivered a service this week that typically the sanitation charges cover their labor. So we could argue
it's a trade-off, though.
It is, and we understand that it is a financial impact to us, but think that that's valuable, and we want to be fair, but we also want to be fair to our team. I don't think it's fair to our team to say, hey, please go out in 1 degree temperature, because they'd be running trash right now, and lug it out of a 3-foot snowbank, and we're trying to get folks to dig paths and set their cans out in an easily accessible manner. So that would be my charter to you for over the weekend is for next week. Please be sure you've got a clear path delineated for trash service. Rumpke's running 1 day behind, so if you're typically on Wednesday, your Rumpke service will come by today. So you need to get that out right now if you're not late already. If you're typically on Thursday, you need to have it out tomorrow. And if you're typically on Friday, they're going to run on Saturday. They have a different system. They have a corporate-wide policy. That's what they do. That's on them. Good luck. But for next week, my request would be is if you could help our teams out by being sure you've got clear paths for trash. And if you're on next week's recycling, it's like normal. Mondays on Monday, Tuesdays on Tuesday, and just be cognizant of that and help them out.
I think that's a big piece, and to just get out. And I know that it's tough to move snow and it's getting more packed down, but to have that path for them, they go around and collect a lot of trash in a day. So make it as easy as possible for them.
Yeah, we do about 4,000 residential customers, so at 4,500 cans or so a week. So if you divide that by 5, that's a lot of trash cans to dig out, load around, load up, dump out, return. And if you do have extra bags of trash, appropriately bagged trash next week, just set them by the can, and they'll pick those up too. That's something that we don't do either, right? Like in a normal week, we don't pick it up off the ground, but we also understand we're missing a week. Some folks fill that up every week. Be mindful of that. I don't think we'll probably have a vermin problem next week, but
I don't think so.
But
frozen.
Be mindful of that. Be mindful that it's in easy to pick up bags, and maybe set them out in the morning so they're not froze to the ground. Try to help us out and help them out the best you can.
Be polite.
Yeah, that's great.
That's all we're asking. Be polite.
Right.
So this week, GFD and GPD made the Channel 13 news. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah, we it's one of those things where you always want to make the news for the right reasons, and in this case it was because an individual had driven off of the road out near Moscow Road and into the retention pond. He was out doing DoorDash at 2:30 in the morning in the middle of a snowstorm, so I don't know what he was door dashing. Maybe it was medicines for sick kids, and I hope it was something like that, and I hope it wasn't Taco Bell. So please be mindful of that when you're using that service, which I think is great. But making sure that when you're putting somebody in risk like that,
it's appropriate.
It's appropriate, and that individual actually drove out onto the pond, drove across the pond, and then the ice gave way. So that was kind of amazing in itself. 2:30 in the morning, somebody at their home just happened to be looking out the window and saw headlights, and
that was just luck.
That was luck. Because this story could have ended very differently had that individual not seen that individual. And our units, our PD responded immediately, obviously. So did fire within a couple minutes. Like, some of that timeline is kind of crazy to me, that 2:30 in the morning, you go from 2:30 in the morning to on the scene and administering an ice rescue, something that they do train for, and was built into the street and fire campus. We had to build a retention pond anyway for that campus. We intentionally built it with training for fire in mind. So there's a pad back there, there's a draft basin, they can do pump testing, they can do fire hose training off of trucks out of the lake water that's back there. And then we also wanted it to be deep enough and big enough that it could freeze so that we could do ice training on it. They do try to do that once a year if the ice is there to do. We have a full ice rescue set, if you will. It has like a sled and kind of this boat-looking thing.
Such an operation, and to watch them execute it.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And if WTHR's news article has a video piece that they did, and it shows the body cam footage from the night, which is really impressive as well. And the team does that training, but as far as Ron Reynolds, Assistant Chief Ron Reynolds, he's been with us a long time. He could not remember a ice rescue of a person. They've done animals before, but he doesn't remember ever having to administer an ice rescue outside of a training environment to a person. And you watch that video, and you look like they've done it they've done it 50 times.
Yeah, from my eye, which is not professional, right, as a fireman or a policeman, flawless. I mean, to just watch them execute that and get him to safe ground and get him to, care that he needed, I was truly amazed.
In a very short amount of time.
Yes.
It was not an hour. I mean, it was minutes. And I was there when WTHR was in town, and I learned from firefighter Jake Miller, who's new to our force, that he was the one actually out on the sled, and so they interviewed him, and they had done one practice. He had one practice session, and it looked like he did it for his entire life. And so I appreciate the work that they do and did, and all of the team that helped with that. So
I think too, it really shows how important training is, because that's not something we encounter on a daily basis. That may have been the first person, and we don't know how long. But the fact that they were able to just know what to do and do it, the training pays off tenfold.
Well, and it is worth pointing out that we train for a lot of things. So many that I don't even know. But I mean, we do grain bin operation training, which we used 3 times in like 30 days a couple years ago. And I don't know that we've done it since. And we've done ice training for how many years and never used it. And we do this training, and maybe we never use it, but you never know. And I think that it was really great to see the team all come together, and they were all there supporting their fellow. And then Officer Tuttle was also interviewed, and so we had some of the police and fire. And look, we had more brass in the building than I've seen since an all-staff meeting, and they were all there to support their guys. And of course, they were a little nervous about being on camera and doing the whole media interview discussion. But in this instance, it's a positive story. The individual, to my knowledge, is uninjured, and a great response. And otherwise, it could have been a tragic story about hypothermia and water and frozen vehicles. And
I was impressed too. And coming from my medical world, I get it, but the calmness in their conversation, like as you watch that footage, like no one's excited. They got him out. Just very professional. So great job to them.
They did a great job, and it is something that I don't live in that world either, right? And I'm sure you can go into the emergency room, and if you were watching somebody operate on someone in an emergency room situation, I would be like, how are you this calm, right? But again, not that you're desensitized to it, but it's just that experience and training piece. I did a ride-along with the police department in the fall, and I've watched them do auto extrication training. I watched them do joint training. We've done, elected official kind of day at the firehouse a few years ago, but I've never actually been with them when they have responded. Like, we were in the police car, call comes in for a car wreck with potential entrapment, right? And so it's all lights and sirens, and you show up, and then here comes fire, and here comes EMS, and they all get to work, and they all do this thing, and like this incredibly impactful moment for those individuals. Fortunately, no major injuries, a couple people to go to the hospital, but didn't have to do auto extrication or whatever. But just to watch it all work together, And then, honestly, in about like 13 minutes, it was over.
It's done.
Done. Roads open. You and I could have drove by 1 minute after we left, and you would have never even known. And for those individuals that are impacted, it's a big moment, maybe traumatic for life, depending on how it is or goes. 13 minutes, it's over for them, and they're back to work, and I'm like, wow. And you watch that training that I've watched come into action in real life, and it's a whole lot faster in real life than it looks to be in training. So
it's amazing.
It is.
Yeah, kudos once again to everybody, because on the front lines and our city and county workers, it's been a busy week for all of us. A busy, slow week. It's really weird, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's been kind of odd how there's not much going on, but a lot going on at the same time.
That's right. Indiana legislation, real quick before we run out of time. Anything new coming out of the State House that you are aware of or concerned about?
I was thinking about that when I was driving over here this morning. I thought, boy, I hope Emily doesn't ask me about where the State House is at, because I haven't paid any attention to it since Friday. We are in the midpoint, I believe. Last week, State Representative Jenny Meltzer joined us, and she was talking about, I think this is the last of the first half of session.
Yes.
And so everything's got to be out of their house by the end of this week. There's some progress being made on an economic development bill to kill that, which would be very helpful. That allows our region to stay together, et cetera, et cetera. That's a very kind of technical thing that no one really cares about. But so there is still some progress happening. I saw yesterday in a pretty unusual turn of events where the bill that would allow firing squad execution for death row inmates. I know this is a very weird topic. You're not on your bingo card.
I actually had a conversation about this last week.
But it actually was like 49-48.
Oh.
Which never happens, I don't think, really.
Yeah.
And I guess procedurally, I did not look into this, but I guess procedurally, since that's not a majority. So right, it's 100 Senate, or it's 100 seat House of Representatives, but somebody was absent, and so it wasn't 50 and 51 or something. It wasn't 50-51, and so I guess it is eligible for a revote, which
really,
I don't know. That seems odd to me, but it failed, and so now there's this whole discussion about that, and I'll be interested to see where that goes. But you don't see those close votes in a supermajority partied House or Senate very often. So
that would be a tough one, I think, to vote on.
Yeah, I agree with that. So we'll see what comes out of the chamber this week. Of course, like Representative Meltzer said, and we've said here before, the last week is really where it all goes sideways with conference committees. You've got to get some language if you want those in theory. There's always the asterisk that says, well, you can put whatever you want in, which is a great rule to have if you want to put other random stuff in. The last week of session, when they have to take what come out of the House and what came out of the Senate, try to marry those up, match the language, and then get both houses to approve it. So I honestly have been slacking a little bit on the legislative.
Had other things. Had other things to look at. Let's really go ahead for next week. You'll be back into Super Tuesday, right? Meetings next week.
Yeah, we're it's hard to believe. First week of January.
It's Groundhog's Day.
Already coming. Great. I think Hope's doing Groundhog's Day. We had joked about that a while back, about doing a Groundhog's Day event. So if you want to go look at a groundhog, I think it's on 8:30 on Monday morning.
Yeah, I believe so. What is going to be your guess? Is he going to say 6 more weeks of spring, or 6 more weeks till spring, or 6 more weeks of winter?
I think if I looked out the window, I'd say it's going to be winter. There's going to be piles of snow in this city that are still here on March 1st. So,
unfortunately, Randy says, yes, next week is cold, but it's probably going to stay cold. And a little bit more snow coming next week. Wednesday and Thursday, he says.
Well, this has been fun. Thanks for having me on today. We don't need to talk about that. We'll just wrap this up right here, right now.
Forget it's ever going to happen, right?
Yeah. So, next week is Water Airport redevelopment, BZA, and plan. It's a full slate. We're going to have some progress, I think, made on the Ironman Apartments in downtown. They're coming and getting some entitlement work done for parking and side yards and buffers and things like that. So it should be a positive step in the right direction for that project, and we're moving right along.
That's right. Construction that we've seen, I think it's been slow this week. I think in the snow, the construction has slowed down. Yeah,
I haven't heard... Zaxby's just kind of keeps sitting out there and doing their thing. I don't know what they're doing, but I wish somebody would tell me when they're going to open, because I've got a lot of people asking, and I don't know.
I think it's going to be a surprise opening. That's what I think.
Yeah,
I think one day they're just going to be open.
I don't disagree with that.
Wouldn't that be fun, though? Like,
yeah.
You just drive by and... Oh.
Boom, there it is. Chicken tenders.
Just like that.
And salads.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
That's right.
That's right. Anything else this week before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. Quiet week. Of course, next weekend, week from Saturday, the Chamber of Commerce Ag Breakfast. I don't know if they still have tickets available or not, but you can definitely, it's always a fun event. That's going to be out at the Next Generation Red Barn out on kind of North Carver Street out there. And then the opening for the building out here at the fairgrounds is coming in a couple weeks. So lots of good stuff coming over the next few weeks in February as we get rolling into 2026.
That's right. I think, are you participating in the library event next Saturday as well?
I am, yeah. So it's like the kids fair that's happening out at the library. I don't know if I'm participating. I was requested to bring Truman, my dog, and so that I could read a book about dogs eat donuts too.
Truman's the star of the show.
I know. It was the invite was, could you please bring Truman to this event? And if you're here, would you read a book to the kids? So, I think bringing the dog was priority number one.
Truman's participating.
Yes, Truman and I will be at the kids' fair immediately following the Ag Breakfast on the 7th.
And that's at the library, right?
It is, yeah.
Very good. Thanks so much. We will see you next week. We're going to hope for less snow.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for all the help this week getting the word out. And to everyone, please be patient, be kind,